The movie begins with the airport staff setting up the place and taking up their duty positions. A crowd of people rush into the airport as soon as the gate opens. Soon every counter is filled up. A group of suspicious men from China try to steal all the goods from the airport. Mr. Navorsky, who got distracted by this group of men, gave his passport and ticket to the person in his counter. He was taken away by the U.S. Customs and Border Protection as his international passport failed. He then starts to shave his unnoticeable beard in the airport. He doesn't seem to understand English when he was interrogated by the officer. He said he has to go to a particular place. He hesitates to give his passport but then would go on to give it. Frank Dixon, the director of Customs and Border Protection, tries to tell Victor that when he was flying to the U.S., there was a war in Krakosia and hence it was failed to be recognized as a country by the U.S. and he wouldn't be allowed to go inside U.S., but he doesn't seem to understand. Dixon allows Victor to roam around freely in the International Transit Lounge. Victor was handed over food tickets, pager, prepaid calling ticket, and many other things by the officer. After getting to know that his country is in war through the television in the airport, he tried to call his family through the telephone there, but he didn't know to operate it. He asked many people's help, but no one helped him. He tried to help a girl struggling with her suitcase when his meal ticket flew away and the cleaner put it in the bin. Without knowing what to do, he went into a waiting lobby which was under construction and he combined 2 sets of chairs to make himself a bed, after which he turned the lights off and went to sleep. Dixon, who is now promoted, sees a person in his bathrobe. He is none other than our hero Victor. Victor takes a bath in the wash basin of the restroom. Victor then tries to enter New York, but then the person at the counter wouldn't let him go and explains why. He then makes himself a sandwich made of cookies and sauce. Dixon tells Victor that at a particular time, the door will be open and no one will be watching, so he can escape just to catch him red-handed. Victor senses that this is a trap as he notices the CCTV camera follow him wherever he moves and he wouldn't go out of the airport. He then sees Amelia, who slips and falls down on the wet floor. He helps her and gives her a coupon to a heels shop as her heels were broken. Gupta Rajan, a cleaner who works in the airport, thinks that Victor is a spy from CIA who has come here to monitor them and tells it to his friends. Victor notices that a woman returns the airport cart back and gets 25 cents. Victor then gets the carts and earns himself money. He then goes to Burger King and gets a burger for his lunch with the money that he earned and tells them to keep the change. He buys books so that he could learn English. He again tries to convince the person at the counter to let him to go to New York. Dixon assigns a person to put back the carts and help the passengers so that Victor cannot earn money for food. He then made a biscuit sandwich for lunch again. Victor makes friends with a catering car driver Enrique, who said he will provide him food. One day when he was eating with Enrique, his pager beeped, so he swiftly ran to meet Dixon. Dixon says that he could send Victor to New York City as an immigrant who was waiting for his case to be attended in court. He says that if Victor answers one question he would proceed with the procedure, and Victor can go to New York that night. Victor agrees. Dixon asks, "Do you have fear on your country?" But he says that he doesn't have fear about his own country, which led to Dixon getting frustrated. They send Victor back. Gupta was watching people slip and fall, though he put up the wet floor sign and enjoyed it while drinking juice. Victor then goes on to search a job in the airport. When they ask for his phone number, he tells them the phone number of the nearby public telephone in the airport. He then waits there for the entire day for their call. At the end of the day, they tell him that the position is filed and he doesn't need to wait there anymore for this job. On his way back, he sees an unfinished wall, so he starts to work on the wall and completes it overnight. The workers and their boss were amazed by his work. The boss hired him. He finally secured a job at the airport as a construction worker for $19 per hour. Meanwhile, Dixon in his office plans to get Navorsky kicked out of this airport. When the airport was being checked by the higher officials, a frantic Russian man was held for carrying illegal drugs. Dixon summons Victor and Victor agrees to translate whatever the Russian man says if Dixon allows Victor to enter New York. Victor talks to that man. Dixon asks him to tell that in order for him to transport medicine, he needs to have a license. They arrest the man, but then Victor handles the situation by saying that the medicine is for a goat, as Victor knows that medicine for animals don't need a license to be transported. The man hugs Victor as a form of gratitude. Dixon then threatened Victor and was in a desperate need to kick him out of the airport. The airport cleaner Gupta would go on to tell about this goat incident to his co-workers. Due to this incident, Victor suddenly becomes famous throughout the airport and gains the respect of everyone there. People who didn't mind to bother about him would greet him when they saw him. Victor then met Dixon to give him the sailfish that he won by gambling with the lost and found with his friends. Dixon asks Navorsky why he wants to go to New York and what is in the peanut can. Victor says that it is a promise. Dixon tells him that he cannot go to New York. Victor angrily says you don't like fish and goes out with that massive fish. Victor asks why Gupta is here. Gupta says that he had a shop in Madras, India. He made just enough money for living. One fine day a policeman comes and tells Gupta that he owes him some tax. Gupta pays, and the policeman comes again and again every single day. This goes on for 5 days when Gupta got fed up and stabs the policeman on his chest. He then ran away from India. He would go to jail if he returns to India. Dixon asks Amelia whether she knows anything about Victor's peanut can and why he lives here in Gate 67. Amelia later that day goes to meet Victor and asks him why he lives in Gate 67 and what is in that peanut can. Victor says that his father saw a picture of a jazz band in a Hungarian newspaper in 1958. There were 57 players in that jazz band. His father swore to collect the signature of all 57 players. He wrote them letters and waited for years, and slowly letters came back one by one. His father collected 56 signs, but then one jazz player, Benny Golson, didn't reply to that letter. His father passed away before collecting all 57. Victor wanted to keep his dad's promise and hence, he came here to get the autograph of Benny Golson. The next morning, Victor's friends come to meet him. They say that the war is over. Victor celebrates this with many people in the airport. Amelia joins the party. Amelia gets a one-day visa for Victor through her friend so that he can get the last signature and finish his collection. Victor goes to the counter with his visa. But the person at the counter says that the emergency visa for one day needs to be signed by Dixon. Dixon doesn't allow Victor to go to New York. Instead he asks him to go home. Victor makes a bold statement saying that he wants to go to New York City now. Dixon threatens to fire Victor's friends Joe for playing poker game after duty, and Enrique for letting Victor into the forbidden food preparation area, and deport Gupta, who was wanted in India for attacking a dishonest policeman. Victor then agrees to go home if Dixon doesn't harm his friends. One of the officers tell Gupta whatever Dixon told to Victor. Gupta, who learnt this, goes on to stop Victor's plane and tells him to enter New York. Gupta happily says that he is going home. All the staff from various shops in the airport who heard that Victor is going to New York rush towards him with some sort of gift. The Customs and Border Protection block Victor's way. The officer gives his overcoat to Victor, saying that New York City is going to be cold. Dixon, who gets mad seeing this, runs down as soon as possible. Victor exits the airport with everyone's approval. Victor took a deep breath of the natural air in a very long time. As he was about to get on a taxi, he saw Amelia getting out of another taxi. Amelia, seeing this, gave Victor a longing smile. Victor tells the driver the route. The driver asks where he is from. He says Krakozia. The driver says that he is new to New York and that he is from Albania. Dixon, seeing Victor leave the airport, chooses not to pursue him. Victor asks the receptionist where is the concert happening. Under the guidance of the receptionist, Victor enters the lobby. Victor introduces himself and his father to Benny Golson. Benny Golson says that he will sign after the concert is over. Victor, after collecting the autograph, hires a taxi, saying, "I am going home."